Lukas Nord, you've just won the European Central Bank's annual Young Economist Prize. How are you feeling?
It's feeling great. It's really an honor, and it has been a pleasure to be here for the last couple of days. I met a lot of exciting people. I learned a lot about how research can be applied also to the policy sphere. And most importantly, I met a bunch of other great young economists who I shared the last 2.5 days with, and this has really been a lot of fun for me.
Excellent. We're glad to hear it, that you know, it wasn't just all work, there was some play involved as well. So just for our viewers, just describe the winning paper.
Mm-hmm. So in the winning paper, the big question is really how the distribution of income and wealth in an economy can kind of shape the level of competition that goes on in the goods market, right? So how hard do sellers have to compete when they sell goods to these households? And I have data on a very granular level. I can see households' consumption baskets. I know whether they buy, which kind of soft drink. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say brands, but which kind of soft drink they buy, how much they buy of it, and which price they pay for it. And really what you see in the data is that even if you buy exactly the same product, you go to different stores and you can pay very different prices. And households differ in how much they exploit these differences in prices across stores. They differ in how much they shop around to reduce how much they have to pay for any given good that they want to buy. Especially poor households do this more often and do this more carefully, so they reduce how much they have to pay to buy the same basket of products. And what I study in this paper really is how retailers who set prices for the goods that they sell to these rich and poor households, how they respond to this behavior on the household side. And what I show is that what really matters for the retailer is not just whether there are 100 or 200 euros spent, but it's really important who spends each of these euros. Is this euro coming from a poor or from a richer household? Because these households differ in how carefully they will compare prices across stores. So for the retailer, it's like the level of competition changes depending on who you're selling to. What I show in the paper is that this response of retailers to who they are selling their products to really reduces inequality, because they will know that poor households compare prices more carefully. So what they want to do is they want to reduce the profits that they're making on these poor households, because they feel they have to compete more, because these households will check in the store next door how much the good is going to be sold at there. But it also matters, and that's maybe important for policy, it matters for how the economy will respond to aggregate shocks, because if there's an income loss somewhere in the economy, it will matter whether this income loss is borne by a rich household or by a poor household, because that will change who the average person who walks into a store is, and retailers will respond to that by increasing or decreasing their prices depending on who has this income loss.
Well, that's an absolutely fascinating area of research at the moment, when we're living through one of the biggest cost of living crises in decades in very many advanced economies. So how do you think this marginal propensity to bargain hunt, if you like, is really reducing the impact and the severity of this cost of living crisis that we've seen?
So I think there's there are two aspects to this, right? So on the one hand, these households can, to some extent, if every price goes up, they can bargain hunt more carefully and compensate a little bit of this price increase. But then we also have to be careful, because this margin is maybe not available to all households to the same degree. The poor households have been doing this already before, so they really they found the cheapest store already. They have not much room to go, whereas richer households might be more able to increase their bargain hunting activities. So when we see an environment where prices go up everywhere, this might actually amplify inequality, because it's a margin that's more available to richer households at that point in time than to poorer households.
I think that's a really, really interesting point. I mean, two questions on data. I mean, these are really fascinating and very timely findings, exactly the sort of thing we like to hear about at Sintra. Where did you source your data from? And also the flip side, I mean, where do you think households are sourcing their data on prices from?
So I think so first of all, where I got my data from, it's a data set that comes from the US, where retail stores, it's a data set that actually comes out of the marketing industry. So marketing companies want to keep track of what are these households buying, which is good for researchers, because we get access to this data and we can also understand what are these households buying, where do they buy it, and which prices do they pay for it. And I think kind of for the household side, it's a bit kind of, it's a double-edged sword. So to one extent, this bargain hunting is really an activity where you say, okay, every week you have to check very carefully, which store is on sale, and then you can go there. A lot of the bargain hunting is actually, stores have very different prices also very persistently. So you know that, one product is always cheap over here and one product is always cheap over there. But, to get a bargain on everything, you just have to be willing to go to all of these different stores, split your shopping basket up across a lot of different retailers. And so to that extent, it's not even a question about information, it's also a bit of a question about the willingness to make the effort to go to all of these places and benefit of the price differences.
So there's an opportunity cost aspect as well.
There's an opportunity cost, exactly.
Absolutely fabulous. Well, Lukas, congratulations on scooping this prize and best of luck for the future. It's been a pleasure to interview you. You've done a great job.
Thanks a lot.